I walked on the Senate floor in a pair of slacks, and the Senate never had women wear trousers before. And I felt like I was walking on the moon.
I started out addressing envelopes and licking stamps, and then finally decided that the men I'd been working for hadn't been getting it right, and so I needed to run myself.
I will be honored to accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States.
My first opponent called me just a pretty face. And of course, I didn't mind. I was going to prove that he was wrong.
Money was a real obstacle because there was no place you could go. The men didn't want to give you money, and the women said, oh boy, I have to ask my husband.
I was like Cinderella at the ball. Everyone was paying attention to me for the very first time.
Aloha! People would say, oh, you're a nice girl, and do you really know what you're getting into, and are you going to be able to handle the heat?
We are attempting to fulfill the promise of America.
Hi there, dear. How are you? You're going to vote for me tomorrow, right? Okay, sweetheart.
It's a very tough arena. If you throw a punch, you better be ready to take one. And if you take one, you better be ready to throw one.
You'd shake hands and you'd be talking, and then somebody would tell you a story about why it really matters. And you just think, I've got to keep up this fight. I got to win this fight. And then I got to go down to Washington and fight this fight.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic?
Numa fria manhã de 2013, 5 novas mulheres entraram para o clube mais exclusivamente masculino dos Estados Unidos, o Senado. Pouco mais de uma geração antes, só havia 2 mulheres nessa Câmara. Muito tempo antes disso, não havia nenhuma. Mas atualmente, há 20 mulheres no Senado americano. Na Câmara dos Deputados, o dia foi igualmente histórico. 78 mulheres, um número recorde, fizeram o juramento. Tendo em vista a história americana, esse momento teria sido inconcebível. Concorrer ao Congresso e governar o país era a exclusividade dos homens. A trajetória das mulheres, desde a luta pelo direito ao voto, à conquista de posições de poder, é protagonizada por pioneiras, iconoclastas e rebeldes. Conta a história de como as mulheres exigem ter voz na política americana.
Throughout our history, women really wanted to have a political voice in order to make a difference in the society. When they saw poverty, it led them to abolition, and that led them to suffrage. So all these big movements that have helped us to try to perfect our union started early and started with women. They were saying America is a country with an idea, and we need to have that fulfilled. Now, it was an idea that did not include women as voters or office holders or even property owners.
When we think of leadership, there are very male norms surrounding that. Strength, right, and toughness. Politics was a dirty field, and men were there to save women from that dirtiness.
Mesmo tendo conquistado o direito ao voto em 1920, depois de 144 anos de democracia, as mulheres ainda eram relegadas a papéis coadjuvantes.
For months before Election Day, Mrs. Carter and her woman neighbors have worked as members of the League of Women Voters.
Women would be behind the scenes, sort of running campaigns, doing what we call the licking and sticking, licking the envelopes and distributing the flyers and going door to door and sort of doing the grassroots work. But they weren't running for office.
Durante a maior parte do século XX, a maioria das mulheres ocupava cargos de poder, não por terem se candidatado, mas por terem sido nomeadas, especialmente quando os maridos morriam durante o mandato.
It was the widow's route to Congress. Most of those women would serve for a short period of time. They didn't really have power. They would follow the agenda that their husband had already set out while he was a member of Congress. They would vote party lines.
Mas algumas mulheres se recusaram a ter carreira política definida pelo legado do marido. A líder do movimento foi Margaret Chase Smith, do Maine. Como esposa distinta de um congressista republicano, Smith foi secretária do marido em Washington. Mas quando ele morreu em 1940, ela venceu uma eleição especial para concluir o mandato dele. Depois foi reeleita 4 vezes por mérito próprio.
The people of Maine have been very generous to me. I shall never forget this tremendous expression of confidence they have given me.
Em 1948, ela fugiu à regra e foi eleita para o Senado, virando a primeira mulher a atuar nas 2 câmaras do Congresso americano.
Margaret Chase Smith is a classic example of the exception to the rule. She's also somebody who stood up. She did not always go along with her party. She really built a strong, independent career as a political woman.
Smith entrou no Senado no auge de uma caça aos comunistas, liderada por Joseph McCarthy, senador do Wisconsin.
Even if there are only one communist in the State Department, that would still be one communist too many.
Contrariando os colegas republicanos, Smith fez uma ousada declaração de consciência em 1950, apontando o macartismo como a verdadeira ameaça aos valores americanos.
As a United States Senator, I'm not proud of the way in which the Senate has been made a publicity platform for irresponsible sensationalism. As an American, I want to see our nation recapture the strength and unity it once had when we fought the enemy instead of ourselves.
I met Senator Margaret Chase Smith in 1971. She spent nearly 2 hours with me, and she never once talked about being the only woman in the Senate. I remember leaving her office so inspired by her and thinking that women could do anything.
Margaret Chase Smith deixou o Senado em 1973, quando o movimento feminista estava se tornando uma força política nacional. Com isso, uma nova geração de candidatas surgiu. Mulheres radicais, francas e prontas para lutar.
There was an incredible rising up by women's voices who wanted to be part of that conversation, who would not be left out of it.
Don't forget that there are men voting every day against the interests of women in this country, against child care and equal rights amendment.
Many of us felt we had won an awful lot of battles. A lot of women that worked in the civil rights movement and in the peace movement thought, now it's our turn. Here we come.
My name is Shirley Chisholm. Send me to the United States Congress.
Em 1968, Shirley Chisholm, uma legisladora estadual do Brooklyn, Nova York, se candidatou à Câmara dos Deputados com uma plataforma contra a pobreza e venceu.
Mr. Chisholm, how does it feel to be the first black woman in Congress?
Well, it's long overdue, but it's the most wonderful feeling.
Ex-educadora, ela defendia abertamente o bem-estar infantil, os direitos civis e a igualdade de direitos para as mulheres.
She was there to represent people who nobody ever listened to. She was loud, she was insistent that people hear her. And to me, that's almost the best description of what a public servant, what an elected representative is supposed to be.
I intend to immediately focus my voice dramatically on many of the issues that confront the black people all over America.
When I was growing up, I used to have a picture on my bedroom wall of Shirley Chisholm. She was unabashed in terms of her advocacy, and she wasn't going to be bossed around.
You know that I have never been exactly a favorite of the party, and, I do what my conscience tells me to do.
No fim dos anos 60 e início dos anos 70, Chisholm não era a única mulher a lutar pelos seus ideais. Bella Abzug, Barbara Jordan e Pat Schroeder eram de uma nova geração determinada a discutir em âmbito nacional questões do seu interesse.
You walk into Congress at that point. There were no women police officers, no women at the door, no women parliamentarians, no women pages, no women anything. I mean, it was the good old boys club.
Right. They didn't show you before they showed.
There was an old guy who said to me, "Honey, I don't know why you're here. Congress is about Chivas Regal, $1,000 bills, Learjets, and beautiful women. And I just don't know why you came."
Em 73, Schroeder era uma das 16 mulheres entre os 435 congressistas. Aos 31 anos, ela era advogada, mãe de 2 filhos e ativista contra a Guerra do Vietnã.
I really thought a woman should be on the Armed Services Committee because all the money was going to the defense. And they kept saying, we're doing this to protect women and children and so forth. But the chairman had vetoed me. He didn't want any girls on his committee. He had also vetoed Ron Dellums, who was African American. And for the first time, they overrode a chairman's veto. So Ron and I walk in our first day to the committee thinking we're pretty big stuff, here we are. And we get there and he just goes into a tirade. And he says the one piece of power he still has is to control how many chairs there are at the dais. And because we're only worth half of a regular member, he's giving us 1 chair. So, Ron and I got to sit cheek to cheek for quite a long time.
Even if male politicians weren't rude to women or overtly sexist in what they said, it was what they didn't say. It was not engaging the women and often just plain ignoring them and not even knowing that they were ignoring them.
You would go sit at the table and you'd make a suggestion and then they'd say next. The next person would make a suggestion. If it were a man, he said exactly what you said. He said, "Isn't that great? Let's go with what Joe suggested." And you think, well, I just suggested that.
No início dos anos 80, republicanas como Marge Rockman e Olympia Snowe se uniram à primeira leva de mulheres pioneiras no Congresso.
It was a time in which the role of women was changing, both at home and in the workplace.
Hi, I'm Olympia Snowe. Nice to see you today.
When I first decided to run for Congress, there was much support from the Republican National Committee. I mean, they were looking to have more women serving in public office.
Every time a bill comes up, we have to look at it, see how it affects women, and so often legislation uniquely affects women, and obviously not to the positive.
There are so few women in Congress. They formed the Congressional Caucus for Women's Issues in order to work across party lines. By bringing together the Democratic and Republican women who served in Congress, they felt that they could increase their power.
O Congresso demorou mais de uma década para aprovar apenas uma das iniciativas delas, a Lei de Licença Médica e Familiar. Elas também lutaram para que as mulheres tivessem o mesmo acesso ao crédito, mas era sempre uma batalha árdua.
Women are the biggest consumer of cosmetics in this country, and we are very good at detecting what is real and what is cosmetic, and the response in the whole area of pay equity is cosmetic.
I would be on a committee and bring up questions about women. For example, we had NASA come in, and I would say, why don't women go up in space? Some of my colleagues would say, oh, God, there she goes again. There she goes again. And I would always say, I'm happy to let any of you guys ask these questions. The problem is they never get asked unless I ask them.
If we hadn't been driving those issues, they would have languished on the back burner, not on the front burner. And the fact that we continue to get more women incrementally in every Congress meant we had more voices sitting at the table in various committees. And that was important.
O número crescente de mulheres no Congresso desencadeou uma mudança na dinâmica dos Estados Unidos. As mulheres estavam declarando a independência na urna eleitoral. Igualdade salarial, direitos reprodutivos e acesso à moradia justa viraram assuntos importantes para as eleitoras.
1980 is the first time we see the gender gap. We see women really voting differently than men, and we see women more likely to support the Democratic candidate.
Em 1984, Walter Mondale, o candidato democrata à presidência, estava muito atrás do popular Ronald Reagan, o presidente em ofício. Grupos feministas pressionaram Mondale a escolher uma mulher como vice-presidente, algo que nunca tinha sido feito.
When 1984 came around, that was the moment that the women's movement said, can we capitalize on what we have seen with the women's vote and transfer that to a woman candidate?
My name is Geraldine Ferraro. I proudly accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States.
A escolha de Ferraro, uma congressista de Nova York, não afetou o resultado da eleição, mas alterou permanentemente o cenário político.
I graduated from college in 1984, and I still remember watching Geraldine Ferraro take the stage with tears streaming down my face, thinking my whole future is ahead of me. And I can do anything. I can aspire to anything. And that moment was so moving to me.
That was a moment. The nomination of the first woman to be on a national ticket. It was emotional. It was patriotic. Delegates giving their tickets to their wives or spouses or friends so women could be on the floor. It was something spectacular. We were so proud.
There are no doors we cannot unlock. If we can do this, we can do anything.
I think it made women sit up and pay attention and say, this feels like a real breakthrough. It almost didn't matter in the end that they didn't win. It was just the symbolism of seeing her there on that stage and going toe-to-toe with all of her critics that made people think, okay, we've done something.
Mesmo com todo o entusiasmo e orgulho gerados pela campanha histórica de Ferraro, ainda existia um teto de vidro na política. Demorou mais uma geração para surgir outra grande candidata a um cargo nacional. As mulheres continuavam tendo pouquíssima representação no Congresso.
In the late 1970s, we heard stories all the time from women who would be ready to run for office, and they'd go to the old boys network, the traditional funders in the party, and the old boys would kind of lean back in their chairs and they'd say, you're not going to win, you can't raise any money. And because you can't raise any money, we're not going to give you any money. And so women were caught in a real vicious circle.
Especialmente no Senado, onde a vitória dependia de uma grande organização política, do apoio dos partidos e de muito dinheiro.
I'm that lady that's running for the United States Senate. When elected, I'll be the first Democratic woman ever elected in her own right. And I tell you, I might be 4'11", but they won't overlook me when I'm there.
Em 1986, Barbara Mikulski era uma popular democrata de Baltimore. Ela tinha sido vereadora e congressista durante 10 anos. Mas sem o apoio financeiro do partido, a campanha para se eleger ao Senado foi uma luta.
Barbara Mikulski used to talk about having everything she could think of. Bake sale for Barb, barbecues for Barb, bowling for Barb, anything to put together those $10, $25 contributions so she could get up on television and win her campaign.
Elaine Malcolm, que havia trabalhado para o governo Carter, lançou uma nova estratégia de arrecadação de fundos. Ela entrou em contato com centenas de mulheres em todo o país, pedindo pequenas doações.
If you have 1,000 people and they all write $100 checks, we can raise $100,000. So all of us working together can have a tremendous impact.
Barbara Mikulski's race really was the moment where The women's movement was saying, this is the time, this is the candidate. How can we collectively get this woman elected to the United States Senate?
Ellen Malcolm batizou a rede de contatos de Emily's List.
Emily's List. Early money is like yeast. We'll make the dough rise for our women candidates.
A injeção de dinheiro ajudou a convencer os políticos de que as mulheres eram boas candidatas.
Then all of a sudden, the old boys looked at the poll and saw that she could raise money and said, well, we had no idea. My goodness, we better get on board with Mikulski because she's going to be the winner.
We elected for the first time to the United States Senate a Democrat named Barbara and somebody named Mikulski, and the Senate won't be the same from now on.
A vitória de Mikulski mostrou que uma boa organização e dinheiro podiam capacitar uma mulher a disputar cargos políticos mais elevados. Quando Mikulski entrou para o Senado, só havia mais uma mulher nessa Câmara, a republicana Nancy Kassenbaum. As duas mulheres haviam entrado para um dos clubes mais exclusivos do mundo. A ausência de mulheres no Senado ficou muito evidente em 1991, durante as audiências de confirmação de Clarence Thomas, que tinha sido nomeado para o Supremo Tribunal. Algumas ex-funcionárias de Thomas o haviam acusado de assédio sexual, especialmente a professora de direito Anita Hill. Mas logo ficou claro que o comitê judiciário, todo formado por homens e que confirmava as nomeações, ignoraria as acusações de Hill. Eles decidiram concluir as audiências sem ouvi-la. Cientes de que as mulheres eram minoria no Senado, muitas congressistas resolveram se manifestar em nome de Anita Hill.
Mr. Speaker, this is a nation that has prided itself in always having time for justice.
We were doing 1-minute speeches on the floor, which was all we were allowed to do, making all sorts of noise about it.
These are serious charges, and they deserve a serious hearing.
To respect women in this society means you give these charges your attention, and when you're confident about the truth, however long it takes, beyond a reasonable doubt, it will be time to vote.
Time of the gentlewoman has expired.
I don't think our male colleagues were happy with us at all. They were kind of embarrassed about the whole thing. No one wanted to talk about sexual harassment.
A decision this evening to elevate Judge Thomas to the Supreme Court cast doubt on the entire process. What
Mr.
kind
Speaker,
of a statement
I demand
is
the
this to
gentlewoman's
America?
words be taken down.
The actions of the Senate Judiciary Committee say loud and clear.
Mr. Speaker, I demand the gentlewoman's words be taken down.
The woman will suspend.
Recorrendo a uma lei obscura que impede membros da Câmara de falarem do Senado, muitos congressistas republicanos não deixavam as colegas prosseguirem com o discurso.
When the chair gavelled down Rosa DeLauro, it set off such outrage in the women in the House that we decided we just weren't going to let this go. We were going to demand that those hearings be reopened.
We're fighting a fight over in the Congress right now. We're only 5% women or less over there, and they're trying to stop us from speaking.
We marched up those steps, and we knocked on the door, and we said, you got to open up those hearings again, and they did.
Welcome, Professor Hill.
O Comitê Judiciário do Senado finalmente aceitou chamar a Anita Hill para depor, mas a interrogou como se ela fosse a ré.
If what you say this man said to you occurred, why in God's name would you ever speak to a man like that the rest of your life?
I was afraid of retaliation. I was afraid of damage to my professional life.
The behavior that was coming out of the committee was outrageous and offensive.
Are you a scorned woman?
Because there were only 2 women in the Senate, neither Senator Kassenbaum and I were on the Judiciary Committee. So we saw Anita Hill treated in a humiliating way that no woman testifying should ever be treated.
all over America, people saw what the Judiciary Committee looked like. It was all white men. They didn't realize there were 2 women in the Senate.
I think it's time to be fair to the nominee.
Sem uma mulher presente que pudesse entender o que era assédio sexual, o Comitê Judiciário ficou do lado de Thomas.
The nomination of Clarence Thomas of Georgia to be Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court is hereby confirmed.
A nomeação de Thomas foi confirmada com uma das menores margens de vitória da história, desencadeando uma turbulência política.
United will never be defeated. Women united will never be defeated.
Outraged women's groups immediately protested.
Some are now looking to turn what they see as a major defeat into a rebirth, arguing that this whole incident could in fact re-energize the feminist movement.
There are people all over the country gathering as we are gathering here, and I think we can feel our strength together as we...
Women around America felt outrage, and my slogan became, "Don't get mad, get elected."
The status quo must go.
It became clear to a lot of women around the country that in order for there to be a United States Senate that understood the issues in their lives, there needed to be more women there.
Em 1992, houve muito mais mulheres concorrendo ao Congresso.
We are going to change things.
106 mulheres concorreram à Câmara dos Deputados e 11 ao Senado.
I think it's about time we voted for senators with breasts. After all, we've been voting for boobs long enough.
2 candidatas ao Senado eram da Califórnia: a ex-prefeita de São Francisco, Dianne Feinstein, e a congressista Barbara Boxer.
Many of these female candidates face opponents who are better financed and better recognized. But incumbency is no big advantage this year, and the prospect of doubling, tripling, or even quadrupling the number of women in the U.S. Senate is a real one.
Anita Hill definitely opened everyone's eyes to the unfairness and the injustice, just by virtue of the fact that this is supposed to be a democracy and there's no women.
That resulted in incredible political energy from women to elect women. Over the next year, we grew from about 3,000 members to 24,000 members. And they were ready to write checks to women candidates. They just needed to know who to support. And of course, that was the job of Emily's List, to say, here's who's running and here's how you can make a difference.
My slogan was I was going to shake up the Senate. And I proved that I could when I walked up those steps, knocked on the door and said, "We need justice." I said the Senate should not be a country club. It should not be a man's club.
2% may be good for milk, but it ain't good for the United States Senate.
I just kept working it, and the women got more and more excited, and I won pretty big.
Boxer e Feinstein saíram vitoriosas, acompanhadas por Patty Murray e Carol Moseley Braun, que foi a primeira senadora negra dos Estados Unidos.
It's a new day in America!
It was a tremendous feeling. I remember we wore red in the beginning because we wanted to stand out, and we felt that the country had turned a corner.
Com o fim do século XX, muitos preconceitos contra mulheres em posição de poder também acabaram. Agora elas eram governadoras, secretárias de Estado e juízas do Supremo Tribunal. Até no Congresso as mulheres eram líderes.
For our daughters and our granddaughters, today we have broken the marble ceiling. The sky is the limit. Anything is possible for them.
Speaker of the United States House is 2 heartbeats away from the presidency. It is the highest level of elective office that a woman has ever held. And it showed America that women can lead at the highest levels.
Poucas mulheres na política americana ascenderam tão rápido e tão alto quanto Nancy Pelosi. Eleita deputada em 1987, Pelosi conquistou espaço na liderança democrata até virar a primeira mulher presidente da Câmara dos Deputados em 2007. Mas ainda faltava as mulheres ocuparem um cargo eletivo.
Are you ready to pick the next president of the United States? Well, if you're ready to choose, I'm ready to lead, so we can take our country back.
Heading into 2008, there was nothing to suggest, especially to a younger generation of women, that there was a reason why a woman couldn't win the presidency or that that was even anything particularly difficult. Women felt very equal in every way.
We must nominate a nominee who's been tested and elect a president who is ready to lead on day one.
A campanha presidencial de Hillary Clinton em 2008 parecia destinada a fazer história. Clinton tinha entrado na política como primeira-dama, era senadora de Nova York e começou a campanha como candidata óbvia do Partido Democrata.
We have some big issues ahead of us, and we need someone who is tested and ready to lead. I think that's what my candidacy offers.
All right, Senator. Hillary Clinton spent most of 2008 resisting talking about the historic nature of her campaign. She wanted to be elected because she was qualified and she was the right person, and she feared a backlash if she tried to play that card.
A trajetória de Clinton de primeira-dama para senadora e presidenciável foi inédita na política americana. Cada comício e cada debate pareciam derrubar velhas barreiras, mas também enfureceram aqueles que achavam que lugar de mulher não era na presidência.
Some people think you bring about change by demanding it, and some people think you bring about change by the remnants of sexism alive and well tonight.
At first, it seemed like they were one-off incidents that were sort of random and insignificant. But over time, as they started adding up, her campaign made a fairly convincing case that she was experiencing really a siege of people's attitudes towards women generally.
The newest collector's item on the presidential campaign trail is a Hillary Clinton nutcracker.
You all saw the famous photo from the weekend of Hillary looking so haggard and looking like 92 years old.
She morphed into a scolding mother, talking down to a child.
Men won't vote for Hillary Clinton because she reminds them of their nagging wives.
Essas pessoas não se deram conta de que esses ataques serviriam para humanizar Clinton, em vez de diminuí-la. Algo que ficou claro quando uma eleitora perguntou como ela aguentava toda aquela pressão.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And I couldn't do it if I just didn't, passionately believe it was the right thing to do. I have so many opportunities from this country. I just don't want to see us fall backwards. So.
When Hillary Clinton, during the New Hampshire primary, choked up, it was suddenly described as her great breakdown. I mean, people back in her campaign headquarters, their BlackBerry started buzzing.
And it was as close to a breakdown as I've ever seen Hillary have. She just is letting her emotions fall out of her. She's bewildered. Can't help it. Bewildered, frustrated.
They thought she had just melted down on the floor. Well, in fact, she had just choked up a little bit.
We can't have people who break down and start crying at the most, difficult moment.
All of a sudden, there was all this nonsense in the media. And I thought, women are going to watch this and they are going to be very angry and they're going to come out for her.
As eleitoras apoiaram Clinton e, pela primeira vez na história, uma mulher venceu uma eleição primária à presidência. Clinton venceu várias eleições primárias, mas não o suficiente para ser nomeada pelo partido. Quem fez história naquele ano foi outro candidato democrata. Mesmo assim, a campanha de Clinton causou um impacto profundo e duradouro.
For me personally, there was a shift over time where she started out running as a Clinton and as a former First Lady and as a senator and as Hillary. As the campaign wore on, it became easier to see her just as a woman running for president. and facing challenges that, while unique to her because of her very rare place in American life, any woman could face. And that became all the more so true when Sarah Palin came along.
I had the privilege of living most of my life in a small town. I was just your average hockey mom and signed up for the PTA.
Em 2008, Sarah Palin era governadora do Alasca havia 2 anos quando o senador John McCain a escolheu como vice-presidente em sua campanha pelo Partido Republicano.
I love those hockey moms. You know, they say the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick.
Sarah Palin really embraces motherhood in a way that previous women candidates had not. She describes herself as an every woman. She's a hockey mom.
Sarah Palin, as a young woman with a lot of children running for office, being a sitting governor, got a lot of credit at first for doing something that a lot of women aspire to. But it did not take long for the questions to become, how could she possibly be vice president and raise all those children?
And it raises the issue of how much time will she have to dedicate to her newborn child?
Never, ever, 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 ever has a male candidate been asked who's taking care of the children. And the last I heard, some of them are fathers.
This is a Sarah Palin school locker organizer. He's got everything. It's your picture of her right here.
Além das perguntas sobre a família, o foco era a aparência de Palin.
I don't want to say she's a ditz, but last night my stripper's fake name was Sarah Palin.
To this day, I resent the attacks that have been made on Sarah Palin.
Yo, let me tell you something about Sarah Palin, man. She's good masturbation material.
They have been personal in nature. It's disgraceful, and someday they'll look back and be ashamed.
Although they couldn't have been more different ideologically, Hillary Clinton and Sarah Palin both faced a lot of the same challenges, being judged on their looks, being judged on their tone, having to walk a fine line of who they are, prove themselves, not prove themselves too much. The back-to-back campaigns really exposed the challenges across the entire political spectrum that any woman running for national office is going to face.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it.
Nem Sarah Palin nem Hillary Clinton ganharam as campanhas. Mas haver uma mulher na presidência ou na vice-presidência agora parecia inevitável e óbvio.
Because of you, children today will grow up taking for granted that a woman can, yes, become the President of the United States.
Aloha! 4 anos depois, as mulheres que antes eram vistas como extensões da carreira política do marido se candidatavam em números recordes.
When I started my campaign, I was so low in the polls that I wasn't even a blip on the radar. I had a meeting with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand here in D.C. She asked, "Why are you running for Congress? What do you want to do here?" And after we talked for a few minutes, she said, "All right, I want to help you. We're going to get you elected to Congress so that we can work together and get some things done."
Tulsi Gabbard, de Honolulu e veterana da Guerra do Iraque, foi eleita deputada pela primeira vez ao lado de outras 18 novatas. 5 novas senadoras também foram eleitas. O Congresso nunca tinha tido tantas mulheres.
20 women in the United States Senate, 20%. To go from 2% to 20%. In my lifetime in this institution, I felt it was like landing on the moon or being the first to going into outer space. We broke records, we broke barriers, and it was very clear to me, we're here to stay, and these numbers will increase.
As 5 novas senadoras se juntaram a uma tradição iniciada em 1994 por Barbara Mikulski e Kay Bailey Hutchison.
In 1994, politics was getting pretty tense here and very, very prickly. It was the rise of the Gingrich era when everybody said, ooh, why are you working with her? She's a Republican. And they were saying to her, oh, why are you working with Barbara? She's a Democrat. We were working on the economic empowerment of women. We then went out and had dinner. We had the best time. And we said, we're having so much fun, why don't we invite the other women and just get to know each other? 3 rules: no staff, no memos, no leaks. You know, what happens with the appetizers stays with the appetizers.
We enjoy each other's company, and we can laugh about the things that have happened to us that we share in common that maybe others wouldn't understand.
The dinners are really fun. For example, we have talked about our campaigns, and the point is not about, do Democrats win or Republicans win? It's about some of the challenges a lot of us have faced and what it's like to run. And there are hints to hand round. It's the feeling that you've got some people who are pulling for you.
I'll never forget riding on the subway to a vote and one of the senior Republican senators saying to me, I hear you women got together for dinner again the other night. What do you talk about? I told him that we were planning the coup.
My understanding of a lot of women who have come to the Senate is they certainly aren't eager to become part of an old boy network. They are not going to sit on the sidelines and wait until they build up seniority. They dive right in.
As mulheres agora integravam e até presidiam alguns dos principais comitês, fosse de corte de gastos, de orçamento ou de serviços armados.
I don't think the old boy network is nearly what it used to be. And I think one of the reasons for that is that we have a large number of women in the United States Senate who simply aren't going to stand for it.
O novo clube de mulheres lembra uma época em que havia mais cumplicidade entre os senadores. Coisa que não tem acontecido nos últimos anos, especialmente com o Congresso dos Estados Unidos adotando um maior fanatismo ideológico.
Indisputably, there has been increasing partisanship in both the House and Senate. Over the previous few years, with the debt ceiling fiasco, with the fiscal cliff crisis, it was one crisis after another, all created by Congress.
Excessive political polarization in Washington today is preventing us from tackling our problems in this period of monumental consequences for our nation.
It wasn't about the policy and what was best for the country. It became what was best for the political interests of a political party and the next election. So it all led to that calamitous moment where they had to shut down for 16 days.
Good evening. It appears likely now that barring a big last-minute change, large portions of the federal government will shut down tonight at midnight Eastern Time, the first time in 17 years.
More than 800,000 federal workers will be affected, and every national park will be closed.
Veterans' disability claims will not be decided. The WIC nutrition program for needy women and children may have to shut down.
Save the people! Do your job!
A group of veterans clashed with police.
You work for us! You work for us!
Em 2013, congressistas conservadores tomaram uma decisão tática. Eles se recusaram a aprovar o orçamento federal na esperança, depois de várias tentativas frustradas, de derrubar a lei do seguro-saúde acessível. Tais ações resultaram na paralisação do governo federal.
This is a fight right now between Republicans. It's between common sense Republicans who want to do their jobs and those who just want to say, no, it's my way or the highway. And that's not how government works.
The whole idea that the government was shut down and that we were bleeding money and not doing our job. Talk about, lose-lose. Everything about it was awful. And it was the women of the Senate who said, we're going to reach out and do something about that.
The Thursday before the shutdown, Senator Ayotte and I were on the same plane going home. I said to her, why don't you and I sponsor
a dinner Monday night when we get back for all of the women. Senator Ayotte thought that was a great idea. So we had a number of the women senators here for pizza, and all of us started thinking about what could we do as women to try and end the shutdown.
Enquanto as senadoras buscavam uma solução, alguns senadores continuaram teimando e foram à televisão para culpar o outro lado.
I think it's extremely bad for the president to shut down the government.
The Democrats want government by crisis. They want shutdowns. This is Harry Reid's shutdown.
Colleague after colleague from each side of the aisle
Tea Party driven
was denouncing the other side. Not a single one of my friends and colleagues were offering any kind of solution. It is past time that we reason together on how to bring this impasse to an end. The first people that I heard from were women, and the whole effort snowballed.
And I would say to my Republican colleagues in the House and to some in this chamber, it's time for a reality check.
We've got a responsibility to govern, and we're not doing that right now. This was not a game. We were messing with people's lives effectively. And it was important that there be adults in the room who said, no, enough messaging on this.
And now what you have is women who are in positions of leadership where they have the ability to make everybody come together and behave.
The leadership and the agenda was set by the women in the group. We all debated and discussed and agreed, but it was their leadership that I think brought critical mass of Republican and Democrats together and came up with a solution, finally ending the shutdown.
16 dias após o início da paralisação, os líderes do Senado fizeram um acordo para reabrir o governo. E foram as mulheres que levaram o mérito.
Women in the Senate is a good thing. And you see leadership, and we're all just glad that they allowed us to tag along so we could see how it's done. Isn't that right?
Women span the ideological spectrum, and I always rebel against the notion that somehow we think alike or have identical views on issues. We don't. But what we do share is a commitment to problem solving.
We are less focused on self-aggrandizement, less focused on power building, less focused on getting credit. And as a result, we're able to help move legislation, whether our name's on the bill or not. And that makes a huge difference.
There's always a way through. You've just got to find it. You've got to be creative enough to see where those opportunities are. And if you can't find them, then to create them.
O fim da paralisação mostrou que o Congresso se transformou com a inclusão das mulheres. Ainda assim, elas representam apenas 20% do Senado e menos ainda na Câmara dos Deputados, apesar de representarem a maior parte do eleitorado americano. Mesmo assim, em nível local, nas prefeituras e assembleias estaduais, as mulheres tomam um lugar que lhes é de direito. É aqui que a próxima geração de líderes nacionais está nascendo.
There is an entire generation of women out there who are engaged in things like voter suppression and voters' rights and women's engagement and civic engagement who we have yet to hear from.
Latino Press called me about...
They are doing this because they say nobody else is doing it. Nobody's speaking for me, for my kids, for my community.
I never thought about running for office, ever. And never even came into my mind. You know how some people think about it? I never even thought about it.
Rashida Tlaib foi eleita deputada do Michigan em 2008. Ela foi a primeira muçulmana americana a ser eleita para essa Câmara e apenas a segunda em todos os Estados Unidos.
I was probably my second year in law school when 9/11 happened.
Hey, how are you?
I began doing community organizing around immigration reform. I started working on so many things that was related to the quality of life of not only immigrants, but children of immigrants.
They're not really interested.
One of my colleagues really lit the light bulb in my brain, she said, people like us never think about running for office, and that's the problem. Is she okay by herself? That's a lot of voters. Okay.
Como deputada eleita, dos objetivos de Tlaib é atrair outras mulheres para a política.
Tiene como lo que vas a decir en el día si alguien te hace preguntas.
Tomorrow, we're going to elect Raquel for our city council. Every time I see a woman that, I don't know, she inspires me, or like, God, I would love her to represent me, I ask her to run. People like us, regular folk, really need to run for office and not to wait for people to want to be the leaders and want to be the elected officials, but for them to do it themselves.
This is the first time. We've never actually had a resident in Southwest Detroit on city council. Did you guys know that? Ever. And so this is going to be the first time, and that's really exciting. So just be genuine, be yourselves, and don't worry so much about, am I saying this right or am I saying that wrong? Whatever comes from you, it will work, I promise.
There are incredible farm teams all over America. Young women running for local office, which is where so many of us get started. City council and the state legislators. They'll go on to run for Congress. They'll run for Senate. They'll run for governor. They'll run for president.
Our elected leaders are our visible leaders. And so every time we put a woman in a position of power and influence, I think it helps every woman in our society.
Raquel Canceliera Lopez, our Detroit City Council representative.
I think the only way to even the playing field is to keep playing. You know, I say to women, and especially young women all the time, get in the game. You have to run for elective office. You have to take the risk that you might not win, and then run again.
We're kind of in a world now where it's not possible until you do it. And then once you do it, it gets a little easier for the next person and for the next person. Seeing is believing. Watching a woman stand up and do it is the best evidence that it can be done.